All right, joining us now, President Trump speaking tonight at a unity rally here in New Hampshire. We'll dip back in a few minutes. Joining us now on set, Fox News contributor Charlie Hurt, the co-host of two hit shows, The Five and America's Newsroom, and I will be her guest tomorrow, which is a great honor of mine.
I've got the countdown clock.
What do you make of where we are now?
Well, it's interesting because, we were here in this very place in 2016 and 2020. And in 2016, when we came here, there were still, I think, 8 candidates left. Mm-hmm. And it was at the New Hampshire debate where you had what was called the murder-suicide of Marco Rubio, strategized between Trump and Chris Christie. Right. And just to think of how much history is behind us in those 8 years, very tumultuous, to get to a point where you are in a two-person race. Nikki Haley has said all along that that's what she wanted. And she did help winnow the field, right? She is still in it. She's here for tomorrow in New Hampshire. The polls are not great for her. And I don't know if she got to the two-person race too late. But you see what Donald Trump there, bringing in Doug Burgum and Vivek Ramaswamy, Tim Scott, all previous opponents of his in this primary. And they're all for him, screaming 4 more years.
And Tim Scott is from South Carolina, which would be up next at Nevada and South Carolina. What do you make of this, Charlie?
Well, certainly Nikki Haley got what she wanted. As you say, maybe a little bit late, but now
careful what you want.
It's exactly now. She's gonna get her one-on-one race. I still think that I'm a little cautious, just because when you're looking at 40% of the voting population here who is independent, and they have the choice tomorrow of going in and writing in Joe Biden's name, or playing in the Republican primary and trying to hurt Trump and help Nikki Haley. I think, it's too soon to say for certain. But if Donald Trump wins by, 40 points or wins by 2 points, it's the difference between it's a slow death or a fast death. I don't see it. The trajectory is not going to change after.
Well, the number of people that switched, I think the Secretary of State's office said about 4,000.
3,000, yeah.
And that ended in October. Mm-hmm. However, you do have this large number of independents. They can vote in either the Republican or Democratic primary or not vote at all. And there have been organized efforts to get people to vote for Nikki Haley, to extend out what they think will force Donald Trump to spend more money, extend the primary as long as possible. Therefore, that benefits them in the long run.
It's an interesting strategy. I don't think it'll really work. And Nikki Haley has rejected that, saying, I'm not trying to do that. If people want to vote for me, she's never going to turn them away. That's what she says. Yeah. But I also think it's interesting. There's 40% independent here in Nevada, in New Hampshire, excuse me. We are not in Nevada yet. But in the country, did you see the recent Gallup poll? 43% of the country says that they are independent. So both parties are
the largest number ever.
Right. It's the largest number. So both parties are shrinking. And so I'm really interested going forward. Let's say that President Trump sews up the nomination. How do you go back to an Obama, Trump, Biden voter and say, give me another shot? That will be interesting messaging. And you will need to get some of those people if he's going to win the general.
James Carville said, and I pay attention when James speaks. I've had a number of debates with him over the years. Fun guy. Crazy, but fun, but smart also. Very. And one of the things he said is a third-party independent run this year is going to get a hell of a lot of votes.
And I think he's right, but I also don't think that that's going to hurt Donald Trump. I think that hurts Joe Biden. And
if it's no labels, if it's RFK.
I think, and even if it's a never Trumper type person who wants to run and think that they're going to be a spoiler for Donald Trump, I don't think it's going to work.
What about Joe Manchin and Tulsi Gabbard?
I think it hurt. I think it all hurts Joe Biden. I think that any alternative. Donald, as you know, Sean, Donald Trump's supporters are not wavering. And the one thing that was absolutely declared in Iowa and is true in all of these polls is, the question for me was, have Republicans grown exhausted and do they want to move on? They don't want to move on. Right. They want to stay and they want to fight, and they want to fight with this guy. And to me, DeSantis' decision to get out and his comments I thought were so interesting. To me, that was the most interesting part, was the part where his analysis that, look, I did my best. people want to stick with the guy that brought them this far, and they want to fight. And I think it's true.
I liked it in National Review. There was a headline by Philip Klein that said that DeSantis was like Peloton in a post-COVID world, right? It's like, you don't actually need you yet right now. Actually, we're pretty good with what we had before. So,
that's a pretty good analogy. All right, who would be the people in 4 years from now when we're here, God willing, again? 4 years from now.
Well, I thought it was very interesting that behind the scenes, what DeSantis was saying and his people were saying is that as he went around meeting voters, they might say to him, "You're our guy in 2028. If Trump weren't running, we'd be with you, but we're going to stick with him
There's
now."
no
So I
doubt.
think he's in for sure.
You don't disagree. He is a young, leading, conservative, America First voice in the country.
100%, and he's an extremely competent executive.
Agreed.
But he's not a great campaigner. And can he become a great campaigner, or is that instinctual? That's
an interesting question. I mean, I was not that critical of his campaign as others have been. I'll tell you, I learned a lot about him the night he debated Newsom.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Because he came in prepared, and there was nothing fazed him. You know, Gavin came in with, every pre-prepared line ready to, to fire out every bullet he had in his political gun.
He's brilliant as running as an incumbent, as we saw in 2022. Yeah. He had accomplishments to run on, and people loved him. He beat Charlie Crist by over 20 points in a swing state of Florida, which is no longer a swing state. And so to me, the question is, does he end up running in 2028 sort of as an incumbent? And the only way I see that is if Donald Trump decides to pick him as vice president. And I know everything seems kind of acrimonious right now, but I don't think it's out of the question. I think that, if Donald Trump decides that Ron DeSantis...
In that sense, he would be anointing him his successor.
Exactly.
Because as Dana, before we came on the air, rightly pointed out, if somebody, the day after Election Day, whoever that vice president is, they're probably going to have an eye on that desk that Donald Trump has with a red button that's not for nuclear weapons, but for Diet Coke.
That's right.
That's what it is.
And they better have a better political operation than Kamala Harris.
Well said. That's true. Great to see you. I'll see you on your show tomorrow.
Yeah, can't wait.
Charlie, good to see you.